Hi everybody. I thought I would share with you some of the stuff I got at the train show yesterday, but there's no point in just saying, "Oh, look what I got." So I want to talk a little bit different about it, why I bought what I bought, and what I did before I put it on the layout. First of all, I want to talk about, you see this fascia in front of you. Obviously, I put this up before, I did the bridge module, because I had no idea what I'm doing. My river is not going to look like this. So this is coming off. Again, that's why I did the bridge module, to learn. So this fascia is junk. It's going to go in the trash. I take it off, and my real river is going to be much shallower than this. So I have to rebuild the fascia. Again, I learned that. So yesterday I bought 6 freight cars. And actually, I bought a passenger car for the steam engine. Couldn't find a lot of the stuff on my list, but still, I'm pretty happy with it. I got most of these were $10 a piece, and they're microtrains cars. The two in the middle here were the Milwaukee Road Reefer and the Norfolk and Western boxcar were Athearn cars, and they were early Athearn cars, and they have the Accumate couplers on them, like the Atlas cars do. I have a real struggle with them. The Athearn cars, at least these early ones, the trucks are held on with a screw, a little Phillips screw, and to a metal underframe. Well, trying to take the trucks off so I could weather them. The one in the Milwaukee Road boxcar, one of them broke. It broke off in the frame, so I had to try to drill it out. And of course, luckily, I found another screw about the same size, but it was a real challenge doing that. And the Grand Trunk gondola on the other end, it was a newer microtrains car. You can sort of tell the newer ones because they put extra wheels in them with low profile wheels in the box. At least they started doing that for a short time. And it also has like a plastic sleeve over the top of them, to protect them while they're being shipped. One of the truck pins, man, I don't know if they glued them in or not. I could not get it out. I ended up breaking it off inside the frame. I had to drill it out and replace it with a truck pin. So I struggled on those 2 cars. Well, let's talk about, first of all, why I bought what I bought. The Cadiz Railroad on the end, more of a whim, I'll be honest with you. Cadiz is in Kentucky. It was a short line railroad, abandoned in 1985. Toward the end of their life, they had a big fleet of boxcars that they generated a lot of revenue for, and they were per diem cars, so like rail boxcars. And it's a really, I always thought it was a really cool little railroad. So I decided that when I saw this microtrains car, I decided I would go ahead. And it sort of fits in my era, but it'd be an unusual car. You don't see them every day. Okay, so the car next to it is a Milwaukee Road boxcar. That would be more of a typical car that you would see. Again, not this car, but the reefer beside it is a mechanical reefer, Milwaukee Road. And since I have a beer distributor, it's very plausible that we could be getting beer from Milwaukee in mechanical reefers. So that's probably going to be delivered to. The boxcar is just going to go into the general pool of boxcars. The next car is a Norfolk and Western, and this is in the modern scheme. And this is what I'll talk about here in a minute. I don't want to talk forever on this. I might have to split it into 2 videos. This is the last Norfolk and Western paint scheme before they became Norfolk Southern. So this was probably painted, they noted it's known as the Clater scheme. It's probably painted around 1980 or something like that. So it barely fits into my era. I'm trying to stay around 1980, but I can go to 75 to 85, something like that is what I try to do. So it sort of fits in there, but I probably shouldn't have weathered it as heavy as I did, being that it was a relatively new car. But once you get on the roll, and I weathered all these at the same time. Once you get on the roll, sometimes you end up doing anything about the same. This cotton belt car, again, it just sort of fits into my era. I weathered it pretty heavy. It's I went to town with the weathering powders on it. And finally, I've got a Grand Trunk Western gondola, and I took the soldering iron to it. I rusted it up. See if I can get it closer to the camera for you. I don't know if you can see that any better. I gotta get it back in the light. Where it's at here, I really can't. Oh, one of the trucks. I said that's the one that the pin I had to drill out. So I'll probably have to super glue that pin back in. So anyhow, I really weathered it pretty heavy. So why did I buy these cars? I'm modeling Chillicothe, Ohio. So mainly I try to stick with eastern railroads. My main cars on the layout are going to be chassis cars, not 100% chassis cars. Now, train show yesterday was the N-scale weekend in Ohio. I did the Ohio N-scale weekend. It was a really good show. Everything was N-scale. Had a bunch of portable layouts, came from all over the place. A few vendors there, so really enjoyed it. A bunch of modular layouts there. Now, I'm not going to call anyone out by name or anything, or even if I even say the road name, it might give it away. There's one guy, that one layout, beautiful layout. The layout was excellently done, but it had 4 diesels, completely non-weathered. Run them in tandem. They were running DCC, and then it had probably, gosh, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 freight cars, all from the same railroad. It just doesn't happen, guys, unless it's a unit train, coal train, something like that, tank cars or something like that. If you've got a mixed freight, 100% of the cars are not from the same railroad. It just does not look real. So you need to, mix it up. So, I haven't figured the percentage of home road cars on my layout, but I've got way more chassis box cars than I've got anybody else, because if I've got a customer that's generating revenue, like wherever is going to load a box car, if I'm the traffic manager for the B&O, I'm going to put it in the chassis box car so I get the revenue from that. I'm not going to put it in a N&W box car and give N&W the revenue. I'm going to put the N&W box car back on the interchange track and send it back to them empty. That's just good business. And that's one of the reasons why the rail box sort of started, because there was a lot of empty cars moving around because people would do that. Like, there was just a ton of empty cars being moved in railroads going back to their home road. That's, well, why don't we have these cars that everybody owns, everybody shares, and they can take any load, any customer. So that was sort of the beginning of the per diem, or like the rail box and the rail gons and all that kind of stuff. But that's why I have more home road and more eastern railroad stuff than I have anything else. One of the greatest compliments a model railroad can get, and I really appreciate when I get them, is, man, your trains look so real. And one of the reasons, well, 2 of the reasons why people say that are because I run at realistic speeds, try to. Even then, to my eye looks realistic is probably faster than the railroad does. But the other thing is weathering. I weathered all these cars. There's not a car on my layout doesn't have some type of weathering. I just, if it's a newer car, then I weather it less. If it's an older car, I grunge it up. My locomotives, everything has some type of weathering. If you look at this like Model Railroad magazine, now this cover picture, this guy weathers everything, but not as heavy as some people. It's okay, it's your choice. But I really think if you want to have realistic layouts, then you should weather everything, even if it's just a spray it with dull coat to get rid of the plastic shine and dust it lightly. And you should run at realistic speeds. Now, again, I'm probably going to have somebody say, Don't tell me how to run my railroad. It's my railroad. I can run it how I want. I absolutely agree. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just saying that, that if you want to get in great model railroads, you need to grow in the hobby. And a lot of beginners actually do have spaghettis of track and running 4 trains at once, zooming over each other. But as you grow in the hobby and have done it for as long as I have, when you start wanting to run it more toward prototype practices. So what if I won the lottery? What would I do? Because I just have this little switching layout. Would I buy a house and fill up a basement with a railroad? No, I wouldn't. I would go to O scale probably, because I'm getting older, and I could afford it. If I had a bigger room, I'd probably go to O scale, but I'd model a branch line or something like I do now, a switching layout. I've never had the desire. I've never built a layout that's replicated, the Union Pacific Main or the, New York Central Main or something where I've got trains running all over the place. It's just what I'm interested in. So I guess to close this, I just want to say, if you want to be, in great model railroad someday, try to pick a theme, pick a era, a general era. Some people say May 5th, 1947. I'm not that good. I can't do that. I can tell you when the Norfolk and Western paint scheme came in. I have no idea about the Milwaukee Road. These cars may be wrong. I bought a Canadian Pacific boxcar one time because I was in Canada and I wanted a souvenir of my trip. Turned out that they didn't introduce that paint scheme until like 2000. Oh crap, that doesn't fit my railroad, so I sold it. And I know some of you are going, it doesn't matter. It's your railroad, run it. It matters to me. So I won't criticize the way you run your railroad, and but these are the choices that I make. And so I just want you to think about stuff. It's really easy to impulse buy stuff, and then you're like, does that really fit? So just pick a theme, pick an era, general era anyhow, and don't have everything from your favorite railroad on there. If you look at trains going down the railroad now, they're not, unless it's a unit train of some type, like a grain train or coal train or maybe oil tank cars or something. There's cars from all over the place in that train, and you should make your trains look the same way. So I'll get off my soapbox. I will film the last part of the switching probably later on tonight. Maybe post it, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday or something. Right now I need to fix that Grand Trunk gondola. So hope everybody has a good Sunday evening, and I'll talk to you soon.